It's intimidating flying into LAX and looking at the scale of humanity in LA is just, it's mind-boggling. Oftentimes I find it difficult to wrap my mind around the amount of resources it takes to keep dozens of millions of people going. Human beings practicing modern civilization have such an impact. I teach natural resources and biogeography. I'm trying to get students to question the premise of modernity and modern civilization. I think they need something a little bit more explicit as to how they're going to contribute to the problems that they're very aware of. If certain human beings aren't doing all that they can to kind of hold back the negative impacts of modern civilization, then those birds are going extinct. They're deeply tied to what human beings in modern civilization are doing. The goal of my lab is to better understand the relationship between humans practicing modern civilization and wilderness. It's not so much to understand the animals or the wildlife. It's not so much to understand the people, the modern civilized people, but it's to understand that relationship.
Did you find that here?
No, up there.
Okay.
Maybe a blank.
Yeah.
I think one of the most valuable things is that you gain a visceral understanding of what these problems look like. I think when you're able to see it, there's one thing to be able to see it on YouTube or in a textbook or something like that. But when you're driving through these areas and you're like, that's what's happening, I think you gain that visceral experience. I think having firsthand knowledge of what it takes both to kind of keep our civilization going and what it takes to keep conservation and the species alive, I think is really important for them to kind of think about. Speaking towards the condors, just the amount of work that it takes to monitor these birds, make sure they're doing okay, and all the things that we have to check on individual birds.
Okay for now.
Okay. We have to take a blood sample, we have to check to see their body condition by feeling the keel and whether or not the breasts of the bird are kind of full, or if they're not doing so well, then they feel kind of thin around the keel. Whether or not they have parasites. Checking the tail feathers individually to see oh, these feathers are growing, these aren't.
So Linda's got
all these sorts of things, and we spend anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes per bird during this workup. And so that takes a long time.
They should have
Okay, Linda?
Yeah.
Important thing is...
I was terrified of them, seeing them being handled by other people and how much focus and I guess technique you needed to have to hold and handle them. You're centimeters away from this mouth that could bite off a finger, and you're just muzzling it with your own hand.
Perfect.
Their presence, at least to me, means we're crying out for a cure. The thing that really excites me about the work that we're doing is that brings to the forefront the question of how do we reconcile the way in which we live and the desire to keep these animals around. I think a lot of folks in the conservation field are trying to hold back the floodgates